She was 53 years old when she went in for a routine scan. No symptoms, no family history, nothing that would have flagged a concern to any doctor reviewing her file. The scan was standard, a checkbox in an annual checkup. The hospital's AI imaging system flagged a pattern in the scan results. It passed the flag to the radiologist on duty. The radiologist reviewed it, confirmed it. The tumor was real, and it was small enough that catching it at this stage changed everything about what treatment was possible. Without the AI system, the pattern would likely not have been caught at this stage, not because the radiologist was incompetent, but because AI systems trained on millions of images can detect subtle patterns that are statistically difficult for any human reviewer to catch consistently. This is not a story about the future of healthcare. This is a description of what is already happening in hospitals right now, in 2026, while most people are still debating whether AI belongs in medicine at all. And the shift goes far deeper than most people realize. The part that almost nobody is talking about is not what AI can detect. It is what it already has, and what is coming in the next 3 years that will make this look like the beginning. The mainstream story about AI in healthcare goes like this. AI will help doctors one day. There are promising studies. There are ethical questions. The technology is moving fast, but the regulations are struggling to keep pace. We are in the early stages. That story is 3 years out of date. By late 2025, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration had cleared more than 1,000 artificial intelligence algorithms for clinical use. 1,000 cleared algorithms in use right now. Industry surveys published in 2026 report that roughly 80% of healthcare organizations and 66% of U.S. physicians are now using AI tools in practice. Not experimenting, not piloting, using. The Wolters Kluwer 2026 Future Ready Healthcare Survey found that 52% of patients already use AI to research health conditions and diagnoses before their appointments. 54% use AI to look up potential side effects or drug interactions. 60% of clinicians say they now spend appointment time reviewing and discussing health information generated by AI that their patients bring with them. The patient has already changed. The system is still catching up. In 1955, the electrocardiogram was already 60 years old. Invented in 1895, it had been used in hospitals for decades, but its adoption in routine clinical practice was slow, patchy, and deeply uneven. Then, something changed. Not the technology, the infrastructure. As hospitals standardized, as training programs included interpretation, as the devices became cheaper and smaller, the electrocardiogram became universal. Not because it suddenly worked better, because the system around it finally caught up to what the technology could already do. The gap between what the technology can do and what the system actually does with it is not a technology problem. It is a structural problem, and it always closes. Just slower than anyone expects, AI diagnostic tools are at exactly that inflection point right now. The technology is not the barrier. 1,000 cleared algorithms exist. 80% of healthcare organizations are using AI. The barrier is training, standardization, trust, and the inertia of a system built around a different way of working. The ECG took roughly 30 years to become universal after it was technically ready. Nobody believes AI in healthcare will take 30 years. Which means the structural shift that took 3 decades for the electrocardiogram is going to happen to AI diagnostics in under a decade. The question is not whether your doctor will be using AI. The question is what it will mean for your care when they do. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco published findings in late 2025 showing that an AI model can predict Alzheimer's disease up to 7 years before symptoms appear. 7 years, not a marginal improvement in early detection. 7 years of lead time before a patient would show any clinical sign that something was wrong. That is the difference between a disease caught while treatment options are meaningful and a disease caught when management is the only option. In October 2025, researchers at the European Molecular Biology Laboratory announced a generative AI model that, based on individual medical and lifestyle data, can predict the risk of suffering from more than 1,000 diseases in the long term. One model, more than 1,000 disease risk profiles, from data most patients already have somewhere in their medical records. Healthcare workers currently spend up to 70% of their time on administrative tasks. AI-powered integration with electronic health records is projected to reduce that burden by handling roughly 50% of routine administrative work. The average physician could reclaim 15 to 20 hours per week. 15 to 20 hours per week. Per doctor. Multiply that across the physician workforce and the implication is not smaller hospitals. It is the same hospitals doing vastly more, seeing more patients, catching more conditions earlier, spending more time on the care that actually requires a human. By 2026, AI is expected to reduce annual U.S. healthcare costs by $150 billion. McKinsey found that 85% of medical leaders have already taken steps to adopt AI, and 80% of health organizations are using it. The question is no longer whether AI enters healthcare. It already has. Here is the dimension that even the healthcare professionals closest to this are not fully accounting for yet. The AI is not just changing what doctors can detect. It is changing who the patient is. 52% of patients already use AI to research their conditions before appointments. 60% of clinicians are now spending appointment time reviewing AI-generated information their patients bring in. 70% of patients and clinicians agree that AI is enabling better patient health literacy and engagement. For 100 years, the doctor-patient relationship was built on a fundamental information asymmetry. The doctor knew things the patient did not. The patient trusted the doctor to interpret that knowledge on their behalf. That asymmetry was not just a feature of healthcare. It was the foundation of how healthcare worked. That asymmetry is collapsing. Not because doctors are becoming less knowledgeable, because patients are arriving with more context, more questions, and more AI-generated hypotheses than any healthcare system was designed to handle. As one expert put it in a 2026 medical survey, AI will not shrink the medical workforce. It will expose how much unmet need was always there. The quiet revolution in healthcare is not just about what AI can do. It is about what it reveals, about what we were never doing well enough. The scan was routine. The pattern was invisible to every previous tool. And the 7 years it bought changed everything that was possible. The signal in healthcare is not in the technology announcements. It is in where the structural decisions are being made. And those decisions are happening faster than the public conversation has caught up to. The FDA cleared more than 1,000 AI algorithms and is now moving to create frameworks for continuous AI improvement without requiring new approvals for every update. That regulatory shift means the pace of improvement in clinical AI tools is about to accelerate beyond what the current approval infrastructure was built to manage. The EU and the US agreed on 10 principles for ethical AI use in medicine in January 2026, not as a brake on adoption, as a framework for scaling it responsibly. The hospitals investing most aggressively in AI right now are not doing it to replace physicians. They are doing it to expand what physicians can do. The AI is being embedded in workflows, not in waiting rooms. The patients who will benefit most from this shift are the ones whose conditions get caught 7 years early. The ones whose risk profiles are mapped before any symptom appears. The ones whose doctors have 15 extra hours a week to spend on care instead of administration. That patient is not a future person. The infrastructure to make that possible already exists in 2026. If you want to keep seeing the next layer before it becomes obvious to everyone else, this is where that happens, every week. Before the mainstream catches up, she was 53. Routine scan. No symptoms. The AI flagged a pattern nobody else would have seen. 1,000 cleared algorithms. 80% of healthcare organizations are using AI. 7 years of lead time on Alzheimer's prediction. 1,000 disease risk profiles from data that already exists. The quiet revolution in healthcare is not coming. It is already underway. In the hospitals and clinics and appointment rooms where AI is already doing things that were impossible 3 years ago. Most people are still waiting for this conversation to become mainstream. They are still expecting the announcement that AI has changed medicine. The announcement already happened. In 1,000 small decisions, in 1,000 hospitals that most people never heard about. The next layer was always there. Now you can see it.